Hello and welcome back to YR Update channel. US Javelin again. Today destroyed 280 Russian tanks in Ukraine. The Ukrainian military fighting the much larger Russian invasion force has been able to kill hundreds of Russian tanks and armored vehicles using a handheld anti-tank missile supplied by the US, according to a US journalist who has been tracking the war in the East European nation. At least 280 Russian armored vehicles have been destroyed with the American Javelin missile, out of 300 shots fired, journalist Jack Murphy said in an article quoting a US Special Operations official. That is a 93% kill rate. The Javelin, made jointly by Raytheon Missiles and Defense and Lockheed Martin, follow a flight path that hits targets from the top, where the armor is relatively weaker. Almost every tank armor is thicker on the sides, but the top is known to be weaker, and that is where the Javelin missile strikes. The Javelin can also be fired in a straight flight path mode, if needed. The first shipment of Javelins arrived in Ukraine in 2018. The weapons systems, along with the training and sustainment block, called the Total Package Approach, totaling somewhere around $75 million. As the Russians learned that Ukraine now had Javelins, their T-72 tanks in Donbas became less aggressive and pulled further back from the front lines, he said, quoting the US military official. A single soldier can carry and operate the Javelin, though more hands would be needed to carry extra launch tubes. When Russian armored columns entered urban areas in Ukraine, their tanks became more vulnerable to Javelin hits if they didn't have infantry support. Ukrainian forces equipped with Javelins would hide and move quicker, as they didn't have a chance in a direct tank versus tank fight on open ground because of the sheer numbers the Russians have. However, the numbers of tanks killed by Ukrainian soldiers with the Javelin or other anti-tank weapons are difficult to take seriously. Mostly appearing on social media, these numbers are likely to be exaggerated by the Ukrainians and downplayed by the Russians. The usual fog of war makes it even more difficult to ascertain accurate numbers, Mr. Murphy wrote. 3 days after the Russian invasion started in Ukraine, US President Joe Biden had instructed the US State Department to release up to an additional $350 million worth of weapons from US stocks to Ukraine, which had been asking for the anti-tank Javelin and anti-aircraft Stinger missiles. The stalled and sputtering spectacle the Russian military is making of itself in Ukraine came as a revelation to General Frank McKenzie and almost certainly to Vladimir Putin as well. I am surprised at the problems they were having, McKenzie said. It should be very concerning to Russian leadership. As commander of US forces in the Middle East, McKenzie has spent the last 3 years operating in close proximity to the Russians in Syria and knows their history as one of the world's great tank armies, all of which has been belied by the first 3 weeks of war. If you're going to drive and operate a main battle tank as a commander, and I have, then you are thinking all the time about fueling that beast. If you're not thinking about fueling that beast, then you're behind. And they appear to have not taken those basic logistical considerations and trying as they move forward. Ukrainian resistance foiled Russia's plan to take the capital of Kyiv with a lightning strike in the opening days of the war. With their vaunted tank army stalled, the Russians have reverted to siege tactics, pounding cities and their residents with rockets and artillery. But they are expected to regroup and try again. I would be surprised if that outcome happened, McKenzie replied. Taking Kyiv is very important to them. I predict they'll try very hard to take it, and I think there could be a horrific price, actually, to be paid in the civilian population as they move against the city.